press record now. Cool. So, Tejas, did you want to kick us off with the introduction? Not sure if Tejas can hear us.
She was having some sound problems earlier.
Okay, great. So if not, we'll go ahead and start. So we are going to talk about Triggerise. So I am Gaspar Rodriguez. I am fairly new to Triggerise. I've been here for about 6 weeks. My background is in development. I just finished a grad program at Fletcher, Tufts. And I am up and running with global operations for Triggerise. Sam, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Lewin. I'm a project manager for Triggerise. I think I have spoken with a lot of you, and for those that I have not, I look forward to meeting or answering your questions later in this webinar.
Great. So, yeah, so I'll start to dive in. We are going to leave plenty of room for questions, so we ask that you hold them to the end. Our presentation is scheduled for about 25 to 30 minutes, and then we'll have 25 to 30 minutes on the other end for questions for any clarifications. Great. So who are we and what do we do? So this is a very high-level introduction to Triggerise. We are a nonprofit. We're based in the Netherlands, and we basically use technology to power rewards-based platforms in many bottom-of-the-pyramid markets, many developing countries. So we have, our goal is to kind of figure out where the gaps are in traditional distribution, traditional interventions, and how we can apply our technology and in our platform in different ways to facilitate any interactions or any interventions that we participate.
Hear you anymore?
Hello?
I think maybe just repeat like the last few seconds.
Okay, I was just saying that we are using our platform to provide various facilitation or distribution or incentive processes to various interventions, mostly focused on health at this point. So we're a very, very young firm. We've been, we just hit our 18-month birthday, and we have offices in the Netherlands, South Africa, Portugal, India, and Kenya. On the operations side and how we'll be staffing the projects from the onset is that I'll be based in Amsterdam. You'll see me working on the operations side with Sam, who is in Cape Town. We'll also have plenty of people in the field in year 1 and year 2, and we'll also be working on the M&E plan together, Sam and I. On the lab side, so that is basically our technology department. So the people who run Movercado, they run our platform in Portugal. We are staffing up for Android development. We've done a few apps, but we are, ahead of this project. We're ramping up that part of our labs team, and they'll also be providing tech support throughout this project. On the inside side, so we'll have Tejas in Cape Town, and who you all know, and then James. I'm not sure if we've met, but he's also fairly new. He's our lead data scientist, and he'll be working on research on the insight side for developing different social graphs, different data models, different insights based on all of the interactions and touch points that we generate across the A360 countries. Cool. So now I'm going to kick it over to Sam, who's going to talk about one of our core validation processes.
Hey everyone, this is Sam, and I am first going to present on validation. And what we mean by validation at Triggerise is a automated confirmation process when two people, so these could be two actors such as Sarah, our archetypal consumer, and a community health worker or a health provider, meet in person, and then they send a confirmation to Movercado, generally within a certain period of time. Very simple process, but it forms the cornerstone of pretty much everything we do at Triggerise and everything that is powered by Movercado, which is our technology platform. So the reason we're so adamant about validation is we had this realization that there are a lot of inefficiencies in our industry that we thought that we could solve, such as paperwork. Nurses spend tons of time doing paperwork, so do community health workers, filling out forms. Oftentimes they really don't, these forms really don't add any value to their work. They're not really getting any feedback about them. And clients are suffering as a result. If nurses and community health workers are spending so much time filling out paperwork, they have less time to provide services to clients. Furthermore, since nobody's really providing any feedback, and presumably it could take like 3 months for the paperwork to get to a program officer who may or may not call them up and say anything, there's somewhat of an incentive to fudge numbers a bit if a health worker is particularly enterprising, if you will. What should we do? We could introduce tablets and apps where people basically fill out forms automatically, but as we like to say at Triggerise, fancy paperwork is still paperwork. So instead, we've introduced this very simple two-step validation process. And I think understanding this is pretty key to understanding how we're relevant to the Adolescence 360 project and all of our interventions and solutions. So the way it works is I can actually use this example on the slide to help explain it. This is a typical referral. So we have Sarah, who's in the middle. We have a community health worker on the left-hand side, the IPC agent. And let's say they meet and talk about family planning. Then what happens is that the community health worker, or really it could be Sarah, any actor in one of our ecosystems, I feel like a couple of you might not have muted yourselves. It would be great if you could. But yeah. So the community health worker meets with Sarah, requests the code, and gets a one-time password back from Movercado. And the community health worker can request the code by sending an SMS to Movercado or a phone number that represents Movercado, by using an app, by using a missed call. It really doesn't matter.
Hi, Sam. Hi, Sam. Sorry to interrupt. There's a lot of background noise, and actually, Gaspar, as the host, if you can click on the participants list, you can mute people.
Hello, everybody. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, sorry about that interruption, Sam.
No, not a problem. So basically, validation. The first step is that let's try that again. The first step is that a community health worker or Sarah sends a trigger to Movercado. So sends an SMS, basically lets Movercado know that they both met. Movercado sends back a one-time password, like you know, 4-digit code or something. Then Sarah gets that code and sends it back to Movercado. It's super easy, takes about 30 seconds, but that process can replace the need for lots of paperwork. And furthermore, actually confirms that these two actors met in person. And so let's say the community health worker did a particularly good job talking to Sarah about family planning. Sarah then goes to a clinic, has a consultation. She chooses a method. Her and the healthcare provider can use that same validation process to confirm that they actually met with each other. And then we know that they met, we know the time that they met, we know the date, we know what they talked about. Potentially, we could even know something like location. And then once we have Sarah in our database, we can send follow-up calls to see how her session went, see if she liked her community health worker. If she didn't actually go to a consultation, we can find out why using the call center. We can give Sarah vouchers for certain products and services, such as something like a voucher for a free prescription for oral contraceptives that she can redeem on her phone. We can reward Sarah and the community health worker for validating this interaction, because although it doesn't take much time, it takes a little bit of time, and we believe in rewarding people for that interaction with virtual rewards points that I'll speak about a bit later. So all of this data, all of the data about this interaction is pushed to Movercado, and then we have access to the performance of the community health worker. We can glean insights into how Sarah thinks about certain things based on surveys or calling her, or just for her general behavior. Where did she go? Who does she interact with? If she earns rewards, what does she spend them on? And then all of this data is available, or will be available, to everyone in the consortium interested in using it. And to those folks at PSI who use DHIS2, never fear, we have developed a DHIS2 integration, which means that any data that's available in Movercado is automatically pushed to DHIS2. This is a tool that we've used elsewhere. So if we go to the next slide, real-time data collection is a huge part of what makes us useful in this project. Because all of the interactions done in Movercado are pushed to our system in real time, as are all transactions, basically any field work. We have access to all of that, which eliminates the need for going out into the field and checking if on community health workers. We can sit anywhere in the world and access our cloud-based dashboards and run reports to see things like how a community health worker is performing. We could run a report to see those community health workers who perform the best in a certain month and reward them accordingly. And then we can also run A/B testing. So let's say we have two different types of community health models, and we wanted to see which one worked best. We could run both of those. If we have two different design solutions in this project, we could test both of them. We could test, see which products are the most motivational, which incentives are most likely to yield clients to, or result in clients seeking a particular product or service. And then we could also run predictive models. So is there a point in time in which a client is most likely to not follow through with a referral? And if we can identify such point in time, can we send them a reminder right before? Can we send them a voucher right before? Those are all things that we can do with our platform, and we can do them because we're constantly monitoring the data, and we constantly have access to any data or any interaction or transaction that's happening within this ecosystem. This is particularly relevant for prototyping. Our access to real-time data provides us with the ability to rapidly iterate, test out different solutions, see what works, what doesn't work, and then tweak them. So that's one of the ways that we can be particularly useful in A360. So real-time data produces great reports for donors. We can measure outputs instantly, but that's not the primary purpose we use it for. We use it to tweak solutions to make sure that what we're doing on the ground works consistently and well. On the next slide, I have presented two different examples of how we could visualize real-time data. So these are real examples. The first shows effective referrals by method, by month. So we can see the total number of Sarahs referred, and then how many of them actually completed a consultation, and then what method they chose. And we can use this data to ask certain questions like why in later months are referrals dropping. We can see which methods clients are particularly interested in. Second graph shows specific community health workers and how successful they are. So we can, look at these data and actually learn, okay, this particular community health worker is especially successful. What can we learn from her? What is she doing that, one of the lower performing community health workers isn't doing? Why is somebody referring a ton of clients, but none of them are actually going to a provider? And it also allows us to identify fraud very quickly in any sort of system in which people are being rewarded for their behavior. I mean, fraud is basically inevitable, but because we have access to real-time data, it's really easy for us to avoid that. And by the way, validation also provides another safeguard against any fraud happening in the ecosystem. The next slide shows us TICO. TICO is our reward system. It's basically reward points that we use to motivate behavior. It's really the glue that holds the referral tracking example that I used in the earlier slide together. So why do people validate? What's in it for a community health worker to effectively refer a client to a service? Well, they earn points. Think of it as airline miles for underserved markets. So to walk you through this example, the first thing that happens is that we have Sarah in the middle. She interacts with various actors. So she could see a community health worker. She could go to a consultation. For each of those interactions, once they're validated, all of those actors earn TICO, so they get some reward points, and these are all virtual, they're on their phone. And then, so that's the number 2, the red arrows is showing Movercado instantly rewarding people with points based on their behavior. After our actors are rewarded, they can redeem their TICO on the local market for products and services. So Sarah could potentially use TICO to get a discounted product like an IUD or a service at a consultation, but she could also use it at a local shop to buy beauty products. Our community health workers, the agents over there on the left, they can use their TICO to buy something like shampoo. And by the way, this is something that we can track. So in one of the other countries in which we work, we found that rather than buying products to provide for their families, a lot of community health workers use the TICO they earn to buy things for themselves, because it's the only income they have to do so. They could also buy products which they then sell to Sarah, like impact commodities, for example. The clinic can use TICO with a wholesaler to restock on certain drugs, and shops can use TICO with sales agents, for example, to restock and impact commodities. So TICO is really just another way to do marketing. It's instead of using funding to pay for things like traditional marketing interventions like billboards or pamphlets, we use TICO to directly incentivize consumers. So instead of a pharmacy getting subsidies to sell a oral contraceptive for cheaper, we could advise them to sell those drugs at cost and then use the subsidies to pass on to Sarah based on her behavior. And then when she has enough TICO, she go to that shop and get a product at a discount. But I mean, I think TICO is particularly relevant to this project because, I mean, for any service, for any product we design, if we want to incentivize people to use it, or if we want to incentivize people to engage in behavior that they otherwise wouldn't, or if we just want to reward people for taking a little bit of time out of their day to validate an interaction, to you know, do really anything we can, and then we can track all of it and glean additional insights based on what they spend the rewards on. Gaspar, would you like to talk about Pro?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about Pro. It is another product that we are using, and the example that I'm going to use it in is India. It's the most recent example. I was there a couple of weeks ago. We are launching an expansion of the Pro network in India. So Pro is also basically a marketing model for last mile distribution. Let me get rid of this. Okay. For last mile distribution of healthy products, it's basically, instead of taking Sarah as our consumer of family health products, or going to clinics on a referral basis, or receiving TICO points for as kind of a producer and agent within the network to facilitate kind of micro entrepreneurship and facilitate incentivizing others to go to the clinic, other women or girls around her to go to the clinic, and also facilitating the purchase of products, as we mentioned with TICO, at a discount for someone who's in this Pro network. And so on the left-hand side, you'll see that we kind of have Sarah at the middle of this again, but we have various different things that are happening, and she's more of a producer in this model than a consumer of an intervention. So she can go to retailers, she can go to clinics, she can work with other consumers, other beneficiaries, other Pro agents, and she also provides the BOP insights not from just an end user, but from a producer, someone who's purchasing products, someone who is earning revenue or earning TICO points in this network. And so the way we've used it in India is around an app, and Pro agents are enrolled into this network. It's a very short process. They get registered, they get some swag, they get some identifying materials, some training about what it means to be a Pro agent. We build that into the training and registration process. And then they have access to a catalog of products, the product mix that India has defined, or that we've defined, and then those products are purchased at a discount from retailers, from stockists and chemists in India. They're also trained. They also receive a lot of educational information, and they then do house visits to sell those products or to enroll other agents into the system, into the network. And then we basically, the way that we're creating a network is very similar to multi-level marketing, where there are commissions, but it's a very small incentive, because we obviously don't want to incentivize people to just enroll, and then, sit back and earn commission. It's not, positive behavior. So we're trying to incentivize a little bit to get agents to enroll, but more focused on what they do when they're enrolled. So different products, and then attending different services at clinics. So we've used this for example, in India, we've used this for a companion service where we take the consumer, the beneficiary, through different health checkups, through a journey of antenatal care, testing, delivery, and postnatal care. And every time that this consumer, Sarita in India, little spin on Sarah, goes through this process, then the pro agent is rewarded, as well as Sarita for her healthy behavior. And so this allows us to also use Tico to facilitate all of these transactions. So as Sam mentioned, it really is the glue to other products that we use throughout the Triggerise ecosystem. And so one way we were thinking of using this for A360 is for girls to enroll each other, to work together as pro agents to develop this network to increase demand for family planning services or products, and also to develop basically a brand and a network that they facilitate themselves. So that's a little bit about pro. I also want to talk, this is the last slide, I want to talk about, aside from what's been discussed, kind of what our approach is and what our capabilities are that we are looking to bring to this project. So we're very excited about coming to the Insights Workshop and working together with everyone as part of this human-centered design approach, because we are pretty well positioned for that. We have very scalable solutions that we have worked in different contexts and different geographies. We learn from those. We fail fast, we improve what needs to be improved. As Sam mentioned, we use a lot of the data that we collect to improve the behavior or the product mix down to the consumer beneficiary level, as opposed to just for creating reports and delivering reports, which we obviously can do as well. And so we're also interested in the ecosystem, the impact of the interaction between Sarah, between the retailer, between the clinic, all of that. So we kind of look at how Sarah is interacting with different channels. And a little bit about that is back to the solutions. We've tested obviously SMS, but we also have used apps. We're looking into using chat networks or messaging systems, and how we can leverage those to use technologies or use applications that our target population is already using. So how to capture that. Talked about this a little bit, but yeah, real-time data, gathering the data that we have on the ground at a very individual level, interaction level between Sarah and a clinic, or between a pro agent and a retailer. We can look at those at a very granular level in real time. Product mix, we talked about two major products that we are using, but we're also really interested in exploring whole new solutions, basically using Tico or not, or using something like the Pro Agent or not, but developing whatever solutions that come out of the ideation phase. Agility, it's something that's in our DNA. We move very fast. Movercado is a platform that can do many things. So we implement a lot of different products or different interactions just to see how they go, and if they go well, obviously we move on them. If not, we can deprecate them or stop using them. But we're learning a lot from that, and so we bring that to this team. And then insights. So as we mentioned, we are working on research and insights from a broad level, but also from the 3 countries in A360. But we also have a lot of data, rich data from other countries. We have about 200,000 unique users. For example, in Burundi, we have 5% of all mobile network subscribers using our service. And so we can generate a lot of interesting insights from just the mass interactions that are being powered through Movercado every day. So I think that's it for us. Sam, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add. If not, we can go to questions.
That is it for me as well, but I'm curious to hear what you all think.
Mary, should I hand the screen over back to you?
No, I think you can keep going and just take questions as they come up. I think people can actually raise their hand if you click on participants, and we can unmute you as needed, or that might be the easiest way. Does anybody have any questions?
This is Nicole. I have a quick question. The model with Tico, are girls who do not have a cell phone, are they able to participate in those benefits?
No. Yep. What we can do for people who don't have a cell phone is we could have a community health worker, for example, generate a code. Since Sarah, the client who doesn't have a cell phone, wouldn't be able to validate that code, she would write it down on a piece of paper and bring it to a clinic for consultation, and then that code notifies the provider that she's eligible for a free service. So that's something that we could do, but they wouldn't be able to really engage in the reward system, since Tico really is a virtual rewards points platform that's only available on your feature phone or on your smartphone. The good news is that cell phone penetration rates, especially in the 3 countries in which we're working, are growing rapidly. Nigeria, for example, has a 82% penetration rate. So that means that 82% of the population owns cell phones. Of that, 24% are 3G capable. So basically smartphones, or at least some access to the internet, which is rising at 38% per year. So, I mean, this is a 4-year project. Especially by year 4, I think we can envision a lot of the youth, since youth are usually the first people in a country to own a phone, to have phones. So it is a limitation a bit, at least with Tico, but it's also we're positioning ourselves as the one of the main actors out there for when people who do have phones, they'll know about Triggerise, they'll know about our products, and they'll know about this project.
I think we have a question from Katie.
Yeah. Hi, this is Jessa. I'm with the IDEO.org team. Awesome presentation, guys. Yeah, we're already starting to we're like brainstorming here, sort of different ways that we could start thinking about sort of these as ingredients to then start to fuel solutions, etc. The question is, we've had experience from past work of issues over sort of ethical issues over using anything that relates to incentivizing young people to use or take up contraception. And so we've actually, yeah, in some past work, we had kind of been prototyping with some rewards things, and we actually weren't able to use them. I don't know if you guys have already kind of thought about this, or if you've sort of experienced in the past, and yeah, would just love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue, at least for family planning. So one thing that we can definitely do is I don't think we've ever experienced any difficulty rewarding a community health worker or a pro agent or just somebody who refers somebody else to use a family planning product or service. Those people can definitely still be rewarded. We haven't experienced any ethical problems with that. With rewarding clients for using contraceptives, I've definitely heard some concerns about that. I think it definitely depends on the context. What we never do is we never vary incentives for different methods. So it's not like you earn more TICO if you use an IUD than you would for a condom. But in general, we haven't experienced many issues, at least with governments or anything, rewarding people for using family planning as long as those rewards are consistent.
Yeah, it might be, it sounds like it makes sense from the community health worker side. I think it's just something that it would be cool for, I don't know if we flag it with like somebody from PSI or just as sort of investigates it a little bit further. Just knowing that like, in the IRB, it was like anything that gets anywhere hints at coercion in any way, we should be like really clear on what we can do and what we can't and where the lines are, so that when we're prototyping, we're not getting ourselves in too deep.
Yeah, and the good thing is that's not
For sure.
That's a strategic thing, right? It's not a technical thing. We can restrict or change or include or not include any amount of points across any product. So that's definitely just a strategic decision we can take whenever we start developing any of these solutions. Great. A question from F. Muhammad.
Sitting here listening to you, I'm worried about the triage. SFH has US side, FFDS side, and if we do incentivization, then I think it's not really going to go down well with the US government. Probably, although we have a large African it means if it's going to work in Nigeria, we'll have to work around the triage policy.
I did not hear that question, Gaspard. Did you?
I don't think there was a question. I think it was just following up on the incentivization, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. I was just having trouble hearing.
If you do have a question, maybe you can type it out in the chat. Any other questions? Adeline, go ahead.
I have kind of a small technical question, but you guys mentioned that you use mostly SMS and potentially apps. Do you guys do USSD?
We don't do it currently. Am I right, Sam? I don't know if we've done it in the past.
We haven't done it in the past. We haven't ruled it out. The reason we use SMS generally is because it's easier. And if you're using USSD, especially to enter a lot of information, a lot of times sometimes the string may break. But yeah, I mean, we're agnostic to technology, so we wouldn't not do something because we would have to use USSD, but we also wouldn't just use USSD for the sake of using it.
And then I'm curious around like prototyping. From your perspective, what does it take? Like, I guess, are you guys already in all 3 countries? Or is there any certain amount of setup that you need to do to be able to run, small scale prototypes?
So the first question is yes, we're in Tanzania, and we're working in Nigeria with SFH, Ethiopia, Sam.
We haven't done any projects in Ethiopia yet, but we do have mobile phone connectivity in Ethiopia. So we have a short code which connects to Movercado. So we're basically ready to go live in all 3 countries once prototyping starts.
Yeah, that's the biggest piece, is establishing connectivity with the mobile network operators. We usually work through an aggregator, which is a private company that has access to connect with all the operators. And we have connectivity in all 3 countries at this point. So that's really all we need to run tests.
The rest is just operational.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Anything else?
No, if there are no other questions, I think thank you so much, Triggerise, for presenting. We are going to have this webinar somewhere online, and we'll share it soon. If anybody from your teams wanted to see, but weren't able to make it today, and we're going to do a few more of these webinar series on different topics, so keep an eye out for those invitations. And I think if anybody has any follow-up questions for Triggerise, feel free to find them in Slack or via email.
Cool.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.